While we're still standing, I'd like to give all thanks and praise to the creator of the universe, Yehudah Zevaot. Blessed be his high and holy name forever and ever. You may be seated. I'd like to give due respect to my Abba, Chief Elquanah ben Yehudah. I'd like to give due respect to Nasierio ben Yisrael. I'd also like to give due respect to all of the men, women, children. And with that, I bid you all in the tongue of our ancient forefathers. Shabbat Shalom Lakim.
Shabbat Shalom Lakim.
All right. So as was mentioned earlier, we're starting in the last book of the 5 books, sometimes called the 5 books of Moses. And just to reiterate what the Maftira iterated earlier, this is pretty much a reiteration of the accounts that took place between Exodus and Numbers. Mm-hmm. And in that, you know, it's going to be a brief synopsis of things that took place, but there's a lot to be learned from this portion. There's a lot to be learned from all of these portions. And I'm glad that she said some of the things that she did say, because don't worry, I am going to be on time. Y'all are going to get out of here right when y'all need to. I ain't eat all morning just so that I, you know, could be a little bit famished as it gets close to 2 o'clock. I thought about my people. So, you know, there was a lot of good things that she did say that I was going to touch on after I finished the portion, but I know that the Most High is at hand, because things that was said was things that needed to be said. But in that, I'm not going to take too long to get into this portion, because I know, like my Abba, I could be a little bit long-winded. So we're going to get into this, but as we begin to take a recount of the events that occurred in this portion, let us do the same thing in our lives. Let us sit back and reflect on the events in our lives and see where we could, you know, be better and do better, where we went wrong or where things went wrong and what we could learn from. So we're going to be in the book of Deuteronomy, chapters 1 through 3.
We're in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
These are the words which Moshe spoke unto all Israel beyond the Jordan, in the wilderness in the Arabah over against Suf, between Paran and Tophel and Lavan and Hazerot and D.C.B. It is 11 days' journey from Horeb unto Kadesh Barnea by the way of Mount Seir. And it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moshe spoke unto the children of Israel according unto all that Yehudah had given him in commandment unto them.
An 11-day journey that took 40 years. 11 days. One of the things that I reflected on during the week is that time don't matter to the Most High, because the Most High is timeless.
Amen.
So however long something is going to take, that depends upon you. That depends upon us. Our actions and our behaviors, you know, which was spoken about earlier, behavior, our actions and our behaviors are going to determine how long a situation may take. Mm-hmm. The Most High God doesn't need us to be in the land by a certain time. The Most High God doesn't need us to do his laws. The Most High God doesn't need us to do anything or for anything. Right. So any and all things that we want in our lives is dependent upon what we put into it. What we put in is what we will get out. Right. You know, sometimes I see certain discussions, because you have a lot of people that try to debunk this book because they want to find every little fault that they can to stay away from God's laws. And they try to say, oh, it's an 11-day journey. How did it take 40 years? Well, if you read the book, you'll see why it took Israel 40 years. Right. We are stubborn and a stiff-necked people. Right. The Most High God had to remove certain people from our midst, which we're going to see certain things, you know, as we get to this portion. We're going to see some of those events that took place that caused us to have to be on a journey for 40 years. Tosif.
Verse 4. After he had smitten Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, who dwelt in Ashtaroth of At Edrei, beyond the Jordan in the land of Moab, took Moshe upon him to expound this law, saying, Yehovah our God spoke unto us in Horeb, saying, Ye have dwelt long enough in this mountain. Turn you and take your journey, and go to the hill country of the Amorites, and unto all the places with it, nigh thereunto, in the Arabah, in the hill country, and in the lowland, and in the south, and by the seashore, the land of the Canaanites and the Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates.
All right, so here we see a small account of our events when it came to our battles with Sihon and Og. That could be read over in Numbers 21:21. That's where you get more in depth into that story. But when you do read that story, you see that Israel was just trying to pass through the land.
Right.
We wasn't even trying to battle. We wasn't trying to fight. We was just trying to make our way through. We was going to pay for whatever it was that we took or we needed. And I think about it like those of us who watch karate flicks or the old school Jackie Chan movies, every time Jackie Chan just trying to make it from point A to point B, there's always an enemy, and he always say, I don't want any problem. And whenever Jackie Chan say that, anyone who's seen any of his movies, you know when he said, I don't want any problem, it always turns into a big problem, and that's why we have his movies. So that's what happened with Israel. We don't want any problem. We just want to walk through land. And, you know, they met us with force. So the Most High God told us to not be afraid. And we faced them. And we won. Tosif?
Behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which Yehodah swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, to give unto them and to their seed after them. And I spoke unto you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. Yehodah your God hath multiplied you, and behold, ye are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude.
All right, so in verse 8, we see where it says, go in and possess the land which Yehodah swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov. So when it was spoken to them, it was a promise. But when it was spoken to us, it was a commandment. Mm-hmm. And that's where Israel began to go wrong, because the Most High God wasn't suggesting that we do this thing. He was telling us that it's ours and that we should go possess it. And here, now we get in between verse 9 and 10, where the Most High God, again, you see him keeping his word. It said, Moshe says, I am not able to bear you myself alone. Yehodah your God have multiplied you, and behold, you are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude. Our God keeps his word.
That's right.
Our people was multiplied and magnified to the extent in which the Egyptians feared us. That's why we had to get up out of that land. Mm-hmm. So just this is one of those things to keep in mind when it comes to our daily lives, that the Most High God keeps his word. So as long as we keep our part, he'll keep his part. Tosif?
Yehodah, the God of your fathers, make you 1,000 times so many more as ye are, and bless you as ye have promised you. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance, and your burden and your strife? Get you from each one of your tribes wise men and understanding and full of knowledge, and I'll make them heads over you. And he answered me and said, the thing which thou hast spoken is good for us to do.
All right. So this part is taken from one of my favorite portions in the book, which is Yitro, which is found in Exodus 18. And the reason why I like this portion so much, that portion so much, is because keeping in mind who Moshe was at this point in time, he was magnified above all people on the earth. The Most High God told him that he was going to be like a god to the Egyptians, which was one of the most powerful nations at that time in the world. So when you think about Moshe's level and his status, and the fact that he was doing this thing that is not, it wasn't wrong, but it wasn't right. So he was sitting before the people all day, having them come to him with their matters. And his father-in-law Yitro saw this situation, and he said, this is not good. You're going to burn yourself out if you do this thing. And in that portion, you learn a few things, that it's not a one-man show. Everybody needs help. You know, we all sometimes need somebody to help us get to that destination or that point that we're trying to get to. But the more important thing that I learned from that was that no matter how high up you are, no one is above counsel, no one is above correction.
Teach us.
And sometimes, you know, I guess we've all seen it, whether it be in Israel or outside of Israel, where people get to a certain stature and they feel as if you telling them something is, you know, you committing a sin, because who are you to speak to me about this thing? But let's go to Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14 real quick.
11:14.
Yes, sir.
We're in the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 14. Where no wise direction is, a people falleth. Mm-hmm. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety.
In the multitude of counselors, there is safety. So when someone's bringing correction, counsel, or instruction to you, sometimes it's the Most High God. You know, take in consideration what's being told to you, and if the thing is good, that's why it says, and ye answered me and said, the thing which thou hast spoken is good for us to do, and Moshe implemented it. Now, as we get into the portions in the future weeks and we start to read Shoftim, then you'll start to see the qualifications a little bit more, and the things for judges and officers. But, you know, we're not going to touch on that too much right now. But my whole point here was that as high as Moshe was, he was not above counsel. So if you're in the position of a leader, a teacher, an elder, a parent, no matter how high up you may think you are, the Most High God can put something in somebody as young as these young men right here to say something to you that might wake you up, that might put a fire back in your spirit. So let's learn to not be dismissive of certain things because of our age, because of our rank, or any way we may feel about ourselves, because that's how you grow. And in the same time, I look at it like if somebody's coming to me with correction, they care about me because they see something that I'm doing that may not be right, and they say, you know what, I know the way that you're going, and it ain't going to turn out so good for you, just the way you should go, young man.
That's right.
And that'll take you a long way. That'll take you a long way. This will help you a lot in life because elders want to give wisdom. They know they're not going to be here forever, so as they get more into their seasoned years, a lot of the times they're looking for someone to pass on that information to. And when you have that spirit of understanding and that spirit that, you know, you're not just going to turn away words, they see that and they speak to you. One of my neighbors down the hall, she's a pastor, and we see each other almost every day, and she always has a word for me, and I always have a word for her. Why? Because she says, I see a spirit in you. I see a light in you, and that's a light that's in all of us. And although some of our people may be misguided in their efforts to the Creator, you know, they have different doctrines or different understandings, this don't mean that the Creator can't speak through them. That don't mean that the Creator can't bless you through them. So, you know, let's just be a little bit compassionate and understanding when it comes to even receiving instructions or wisdom from our Christian brothers and sisters, our Muslim brothers and sisters. Wisdom is wisdom, and wisdom is of Yehovah. Tosif?
Verse 15. So I took the heads of your tribes, wise men and full of knowledge, and made them heads over you, captains of thousands, and captains of hundreds, and captains of fifties, and captains of tens, and officers, tribe by tribe. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between a man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment. Ye shall hear the small and the great alike. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of any man, for the judge is God's. And the cause that is too hard for you, ye shall bring unto me, and I will hear it.
Again, we're going to get more into this when we get into the portion show team, but here we see it says, ye shall not respect persons in judgment. Ye shall hear the small and the great alike. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of any man. But even outside of fear, we're not supposed to show any level of favoritism when it comes to judging certain matters.
Right.
So whether you like a person or not, whatever the judgment is supposed to be, that's what the judgment is supposed to be. So because you favor a person, the judgment is supposed to be lighter, isn't supposed to be lighter. And because you and the person are at odds doesn't mean the judgment is supposed to be stricter. The judgment is supposed to be the judgment according to the situation, because the just weight and the just balance is Jehovah's delight. Tosif?
And I commanded you at that time all the things which ye should do. And ye journeyed from Horeb and went through all that great and dreadful wilderness which ye saw by the way to the hill country of the Amorites, as Yehovah your God commanded us. And we came to Kadesh Barnea. And I said unto you, ye are coming to the hill country of the Amorites, which Yehovah our God giveth unto us. Behold, Yehovah thy God hath set the land before thee. Go up, take possession, as Yehovah the God of thy fathers hath spoken unto thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed.
Once again, a commandment. Go up and take possession. The Most High God is not asking us what to do. He's not suggesting that we do it. He's telling us to go up and take this land because it is our possession. Tosif?
And ye came near unto me, every one of you, and said, let us send men before us, that they may search the land for us and bring us back word of the way by which we must go up, and the cities unto which we shall come.
Now this was a slick eye. Now this was a bit of a problem for me. Why? Because to me, this already showed a lack of faith. The Most High God told them to do something. Now I know sometimes in our human minds, we always, you know, we have to comprehend certain things a certain way. The Most High God told us that it was our land to go and possess it.
Right.
Matter of fact, let me go back and read that last part. It says, where it says, fear not. Oh, here we go. Fear not, neither be dismayed. But in them wanting to go check out the land, that's a little bit of fear. Some people might look at it as them trying to strategize or come up with a game plan. But the Most High had everything laid out for them. And sometimes, you know, you have to be mindful of your mind being your adversary against the instructions of the Most High. because most of us who know the rest of the story, which we're going to get into right after I finish speaking, we know what happens next. And in them thinking that they were wise in what they were doing, they not only brought a curse on themselves, but the entire generation. All the men of war 20 and over wasn't allowed to go on the land because of the 10 out of the 12 spies that went to spy out the land. But what that said to me was, sometimes you can't go with your mind. You got to go with the Creator knows, because he knows your capabilities more than you do. And you might be trying to come out with a strategy, and you're showing him disrespect because he said, I said you could do this. And now you kind of talking yourself out of it. Tosif?
And the thing pleased me well. And I took 12 men of you and 1 man from every tribe. And they turned and went up into the mountains and came unto the valley of Eshcol and spied it out. And they took of the fruit of the land in their hands and brought it down unto us. And brought us back word and said, Good is the land which Yehovah our God giveth unto us. Yet we would not go up, but rebelled against the commandment of Yehovah our God.
They did what?
Rebelled against the commandment of Yehovah our God.
So like I kept saying, this was a commandment that the Most High God gave to them. They were supposed to go up and possess this land. And in that, I see that, our people, very thoughtful, we're wise to do evil. And in this, they didn't even think they was doing evil. That's the worst part. They thought they was doing something good. Verse 27.
And ye murmured in your tents and said, Because Yehovah hated us, he hath brought us forth out of the land of Egypt to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us.
Now they made matters worse. So initially they thought they was doing something good by spying out the land. Then they brought back a bad word. But worst of all, they spread it amongst the people. Now we know we're not supposed to be tale-bearing or murmuring. And that's what really cost that entire generation to not be able to make it into the land. But as I meditated on that, I had to say, even in our own lives, we have to be mindful of certain situations like this, because the Creator may give you a vision, the Creator may give you an idea, and if you're not careful of the people that's in your circle, they might scare you away from it. The whole time, the Most High put that in you to, for you to bring about, but because you're not surrounding yourself with the right people, or you're speaking your plans to the wrong people, now you have fear put into a situation that should have never been there. Any situation that the Most High God could bring you to, he could bring you through. And understanding that, there's not much you should be afraid of. Now, it's natural to be fearful as a human because that's an emotion that the Creator gave us. But our fear of any situation shouldn't outweigh our fear of Yehovah. And in this, you see that's what's happening here. This is not a small matter, because not only are you displaying your level of fear, you're instilling fear in someone else. And then you go as far as to say, because Yehovah hate us. And even if those words wasn't said directly, by you telling them that the Most High can't deliver you out of this matter, you're still disrespecting the Creator. So whether this was said directly or not, this is still a direct disrespect to the Creator, because now you're saying there's something that's too hard for him to do. And that's not the God that we serve.
Right.
Tosif?
Whither are we going up? Our brethren have made our heart to melt, saying, The people is greater and taller than we. The cities are great and fortified up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakim there. Then I said unto you, Dread not, neither be afraid of them. Yehovah your God who goeth before you, he shall fight for you, according to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes. And in the wilderness, where thou hast seen how that Yehovah thy God bore thee as a man doth bear his son, and all the way that ye went until ye came unto this place. Yet in this thing ye do not believe Yehovah your God.
Yet in this thing you do not believe Yehovah your God. Oh, how soon we forget. So all of the acts that the Most High God performed before Yisrael, and this is the thing that's going to be too hard for him to do. And that shows you how fickle the mind of our people can be, because it's like you witness his might. You witness all of these wondrous acts, and even if you was too young to remember, the elders in the midst of you, they told you these stories. They let you know what it was that happened. And now all of a sudden, you're faced up against, now when we're talking about the Anakim, and we're going to see the Rephaim as well, these are giants. It doesn't matter how big the battle is, it's not bigger than the Most High. And that is the problem with our people. They saw with their eyes. You know how a person eat with their eyes and they make a plate that's too big and now they can't finish it? Mm-hmm. They fighting with their eyes. They looking at what they can see. And again, Yehovah has his host. Amen. There's nothing that the Most High God isn't capable of. So them looking at this situation and saying the people is greater and taller than we, the cities are great and fortified up to heaven, what does that mean? We see how the Most High made it rain down on Sodom and Gomorrah and destroyed those cities.
That's right.
We see how Abraham and his 318 trained men took down 5 kings, and we the same people. Right. That same DNA is within us from Father Abraham. So it's like, where's all of this fear coming from? These are traumatized people who just left Egypt. So the level of courage that they should have really isn't in them. And the truth of the matter is they might have prayed to this God to get out of Egypt, but they don't really know this God. Because if they knew this God, the level of fear that we see them displaying, they wouldn't be displaying. Tosif?
Yeah, in this thing he do not believe Yehovah your God who went before you in the way to seek you out a place to pitch your tents in, and fire by night to show you by what way ye should go, and in the cloud by day.
In this, we see that the Most High God has us covered in all situations. And even when I read that, where it says, and fire by night to show you by what way we should go, and in the cloud by day, that made me even think of the Most High God could have covered us with a cloud as we approached, the Anakim or any of the fortified cities. They wouldn't even seen that we was falling on them. But, that's just a small capability that the Most High God has. But that's just my mind playing because, I like my cartoons and stuff. But it's just like all of the situations, all of the ways that this could have went about, and only thing they was thinking about is this battle is too big for us to face. Tosif?
And Yehovah heard the voice of your words and was wroth, and swore, saying, surely there shall not one of these men, even this evil generation, see the good land which I swore to give unto your fathers. Save Caleb the son of Yehudah, he shall see it, and to him will I give the land that he hath trodden upon, and to his children, because he hath wholly followed Yehovah.
So in situations like this, be like Caleb. Be like Yehoshua, because in life there's going to be 2 different types of people. Well, 3. There's going to be those that make excuses and those that make a way. And from the previous verses, we see that these are the people that made excuses. Oh, the people are too big. Oh, the cities are too tall. Or their walls are too fortified. Whereas Yehoshua and Caleb saw that, no, we can get in. There's a way in. The Most High God is our God, and he'll make a way. But like I said earlier, because they spread this evil word in the camp, as you see in verse 35, it says, surely there shall not one of these men, even this evil generation, see the good land. So because of that evil word that they brought back, they caused an entire generation to miss out on the blessing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, a lot of us would like to think in these situations, we would be like Joshua, we would be like Caleb, but really and truthfully, a lot of times in our life, we let our fear overtake us in a certain situation, and we don't do that thing that we set our mind to do. I was talking to someone this week, and just expressing to her about sometimes me getting anxiety in certain situations, and especially like in public speaking platforms. And she said her piece of advice was, every time your mind tells you no when you're gonna speak, just say yes. And it was like, the Creator gave me that word because I needed to hear it, because a lot of times, even in my own personal life, I'll shy away from saying something, even if it's in me to say it. Why? Because I let my fear overtake me in that situation. So this portion was as much for me as it is for anyone else, as much as our forefathers here should have heard it as well, because a lot of times in our life, we deal with insecurities and other issues that don't allow us to face the situations the way that we should. But knowing and understanding who our God is, there's not a situation we can't face. Tosif?
Also Yehovah was angry with me for your sake, saying, thou also shalt not go in thither. Joshua the son of Nun, who standeth before thee, he shall go in thither. Encourage thou him, for he shall cause Yisrael to inherit it. Moreover, your little ones that ye said should be a prey, and your children that this day have no knowledge of good or evil, they shall go in thither, and unto them will I give it, and they shall possess it.
All right. Also, Yehovah was angry with me for your sake, saying, also shall not go into thither, thou also shalt not go in thither. It's on 2 different pages. So you see Moshe reiterating this to them. Why? He's most likely upset. And he has every right to be upset. And as humble as we know Moshe to be, he's still a human being.
Right.
He worked all his time. Imagine you worked all them years to get close to your pension. And right before you're about to get it, somebody mess it up. And not only do you lose your pension, they say, and this the person I want you to train to do your job. How many of us have that level of maturity to continue to do our job and then train our replacement? And this is what Moshe is going through. We have to sometimes bring these certain situations up to date, because as antiquated as the wording may be, the book itself is not antiquated. Yes, this is Old English, but the lessons are very still modern. So it's just like, you really have to look at the situation and say, how would you feel? You worked all these years, you put your best foot forward. To the extent in which the people that got you fired, they said, you know what? We're going to fire them. They gave you an option at one point. They said, we're going to fire them, and we're going to make you the lead, and you get your own team. This is the Most High telling Moshe, I'll make a nation out of you. And you say, no. You say, Most High, keep these people on. Or you say, you know what? Don't fire these people. And now time passes, and they cause you to be in a situation that you lose your position. Moshe was still faithful to his duty. He never backed down. So let that be a lesson for us, that even in certain times where you may see, we may not face that same situation. However, you may see someone that displays certain something that you wish you had, and you may not have it, but it may be your job to help them grow in that. The Most High God may have put something in you to help you nurture them and grow into that thing that you wanted to be. Let's just say, I know I'm not a drummer, but let's just say, someone else, I'll use Chief Mekel, for example, one of the better or best of the drummers. And let's just say he wasn't at the top, but he saw me, who had the potential to get there, and he wasn't going to get there. But he said, you know what? It may not be for me to reach to that point, but I see something in him, and I could take him there. A lot of coaches are never as good as the players that they coach. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like knowing and understanding that. That's another lesson to grab from this portion. Like I was saying, as we go through these things, there's so much to be learned from the behaviors. And a lot of times, because it's not spelled out plainly, we miss that lesson. And when you miss that lesson, you miss that blessing. Tosif?
Verse 40. But as for you, turn you and take your journey into the wilderness by the way to the Red Sea. Then ye answered and said unto me, we have sinned against Yehovah. We will go up and fight according to all that Yehovah our God commanded us. And ye girded on every man his weapons of war, and deemed it a light thing to go up into the hill country.
Now was not the time. The time was when the Most High God commanded you to do it. You don't know what type of spirit, what type of situation that the Most High put over them people when he told you to do that thing. You think about when Lewi and Shimon did what they did to the city of Shechem. They waited on the 3rd day when they knew that circumcision hurted the most, and went through that city to slay the men. So when the Most High God told our forefathers to handle that situation, that was the time for them to handle that situation. It says, and were presumptuous and went up in the hill country. So that means they were told to do it and didn't. Then they were told not to and decided to do it. So Israel is like thing 1 and thing 2 from Dr. Seuss. Whatever you tell us to do, we do the opposite. Because we had the chance to do it when we were supposed to do it, but we didn't do it. But even taking us back to verse 39, where it says, your little ones that ye said should be a prey, and your children that this day have no knowledge of good or evil, they shall go in thither, and unto them will I give it. So the reason that we talked ourselves out of the situation, the Most High God said, that thing that you were so worried about losing, I'm going to keep. I'm going to hold on to that. And it's not going to even be yours anymore. So think about the things in our lives that we may hold on to, that we may cause us to put that thing before the Creator, and the Most High God may keep that, and we lose him. If we lose him, it don't matter what we have, because we're going to lose everything. Tosif?
And Yehovah said unto me, say unto them, go not up.
Go not up.
Neither fight, for I am not among you, lest ye be smitten before your enemies. So I spoke unto you, and ye hearkened not. But you rebelled against the commandment of Yahweh and were presumptuous and went up into the hill country. And the Amorites that dwelt in that hill country came out against you and chased you as bees do, and beat you down and said, even unto CHOKMAH. And you returned and wept before Yahweh. But Yahweh hearkened not to your voice, nor gave ear unto you. So you abode in Kadesh many days, according to the days that ye abode there. Chapter 2. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way to the Red Sea. As Yahweh spoke unto me, and we compassed Mount Seir many days. And Yahweh spoke unto me, saying, Ye have compassed this mountain long enough. Turn you northward, and command all the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the border of your brethren, the children of Esau, that dwell in Seir, and they will be afraid of you. Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore.
All right.
Contend not with them, for I will not give you of their land. No, not so much as for the sole of the foot to tread on, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for possession.
That's our brothers right there. Again, that's the Most High God keeping his word. As we go through this portion, you're going to see Esau, Ammon, Moab. These are all our kin. And they have this whole land covered. But as we see in verse 4, it says, And they will be afraid of you. Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore, contend not with them. We know we're not supposed to abhor an Edomite, and in this situation, the Most High God gave them this land to possess, and that's for them. But what I took from this was that, and they will be afraid of you. So that same level of fear that the men in the previous chapter had of the other nations, the Most High God put that on them. That's exactly why when he said it, do this thing, that was the time to do that thing. Because when they went to do it, obviously you could see that they lost. It says, and that's in verse 44, And the Amorites that dwell in the hill country came out against you and chased you as bees do, and beat you down into Seir, even unto CHOKMAH, because now wasn't the time for them to go up. The fear and the dread that the Creator put over people, sometimes you don't know that, and he's telling you to do a certain something because he knows the end of the situation. Just like, sometimes you're driving and a spirit may come over you to take a different route or take a different direction, and you may fight that thought only to now be stuck into traffic or to come into an accident because the Creator saw what was up ahead of you, but because you didn't hear that instruction, you didn't follow it. And one thing that I believe is that the more you ignore the word or the more you ignore that voice that comes to you from the Creator, the quieter it becomes. So now you can't even hear the Creator when he's trying to tell you about a certain situation that you shouldn't even be in. A lot of the times we see, in the news and everything, there's a lot of people that get hit by stray bullets. There's people that get, hit by cars, and there's a whole lot of situations that happen to people, and it's a product of wrong place and wrong time. That, that comes with, yes, they may be out of tune. They may not be in touch the way that we should be. But as Israel, us knowing who the Creator is, certain of those situations, we should not be a byproduct of. We shouldn't be a byproduct of wrong place or wrong time, because if we're in tune with the Creator, there's just certain places that we shouldn't be in. There's just certain things that we shouldn't be around. That spirit will come on you to let you know to separate yourself at that moment or to do something at that moment, like they was told to do something. But when you don't listen, now you have to face the consequences of your action. Bringing it back to verse 6.
Verse 6. Ye shall purchase food for them for money, that ye may eat, and ye shall also buy water for them for money, that ye may drink. For Yehudah thy God hath blessed thee in all the work of thy hand. He hath known thy walking through this great wilderness. These 40 years Yehudah thy God hath been with thee, thou hast lacked nothing. So we passed by from our brethren, the children of Esau, that dwelt in Seir, from the way of the Arabah, from Elat, and from Ezion-Geber.
And we learn, well, again, this is in the future, the future portions. We see in Deuteronomy chapter 8:4 where it says, our clothes didn't wax old, neither did our feet swell. Right. So right here, when you see in verse 7 where it says, Yehudah thy God hath blessed thee in all the work of thy hand. He hath known thy walking through this great wilderness these 40 years. Yehudah thy God hath been with thee. Thou hast lacked nothing. The Most High God had us covered in all of these situations that we dealt with in the wilderness. No matter how many times we murmured, no matter how many times we bickered, No matter how many times we went against Moshe, and in us going against Moshe, we weren't going against Moshe. We was going against the Most High. But the Most High kept us. Now, think about our clothes in today's time. Most of them don't really last a few years, yet alone 40. So that shows you the supernaturalness of the situation, that the Most High God exists beyond comprehension.
Right.
Our clothes didn't wax old. None of us went, we never really went thirsty. Even when we was begging for water, we wasn't thirsty. We never went hungry. In all of those situations where we was crying to Moshe, give us drink and give us quail, and none of those situations we were ever really in want of something. That's our people. We just cried for something that we really didn't need. But the Most High God had us covered, you know? Like Allstate, we was in good hands. Let's see. Tosif?
And we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. And Yehoah said unto me, be not at enmity with Moab, neither contend with them in battle. For I will not give thee of this his land for a possession, but because I have given all unto the children of Lot for a possession. The Emim dwelt there aforetime, a people great and many and tall as the Anakim. These also are accounted Rephaim as the Anakim, but the Moabites called them Emim. And Seir dwelt the Horites aforetime, but the children of Esau succeeded them, and they destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead, as Yisrael did unto the land of his possession, which Yehoah gave unto them.
And with this, what I took from this part was that you see a lot of dispossession of these lands from the giants. They're talking about the Emim, the Anakim, the Rephaim, all of these giant and great people. And the Most High God gave the victory to Moab, to the Amorites, to Esau, because to Yehoah be the victory. And yes, they may not be Israel, but that does not mean Most High didn't give them the battle. Because again, these are still our brothers. These are our relatives. And we see here that the Most High God allowed them to possess these lands. And some of the lands, the Most High God told us, leave that for them. Tosif?
Now arise up and get you over the brook Zered. And we went over the brook Zered in the days in which we came from Kadesh Barnea until we were come over the brook Zered were 30 and 8 years, until all the generation, even the men of war, were consumed from the midst of the camp, as Yehoah swore unto them.
As Yehoah swore unto them. It just made me think of Ecclesiastes 8:11, where it talks about a judgment, not being speedy, and they think that they got away with the situation. And it says 30 and 8 years. So some of the men who was told that they wasn't going to see the land probably didn't take it seriously in that time. Until time passed and the Most High God consumed them little by little. All of them that was 20 and over, he didn't just take them all at one time.
Right.
Time passed. Some of them may have died in a battle. Some of them may have died of natural causes or whatever which ways the Most High God saw to take them out. In that time frame, there was none of that generation yet left alive. But let us learn from that in our lives. Just because something don't happen speedily, that doesn't mean we should continue in that way. If you know something that you're doing is not correct, if you know something that you're doing is not right, and the Most High God is still giving you time to consider and understand, like if you know that it's not right, then that means you're not cut off just yet. When you start to justify it to the extent in which you don't see no wrong in your actions, you're gone. The Most High God no longer has a place for you. But as long as you can consider and say, I shouldn't be doing this, I should be doing this, or I should be doing that, the Most High God is still giving you a chance. So make the adjustments while you can. Tosif?
Moreover, the hand of Yehoah was against them to discomfort them from the midst of the camp until they were consumed. So it came to pass, and all the men of war were consumed and dead from among the people, that Yehoah spoke unto me, saying, Thou art this day to pass over the border of Moab, even Ar. And when thou comest nigh over against the children of Ammon, harass them not, nor contend with them, for I will not give thee of the land of the children of Ammon for possession, because I have given it unto the children of Lot for possession.
All right, so sometimes we see that you have to remove certain people from the midst of you in order for the Most High God to bring about a blessing in your life. Sometimes there are people in your circle that are causing you to miss out on things. So, I see a lot of times people online talk about moving out of their hometown or just moving away to get a better life. And sometimes it's not always that people don't mean you well. Some people are stuck in their ways. So in them being stuck in their ways, they want you to be stuck in your ways. not everyone's going to want to see you grow past a certain point because they find comfort in the version of you that they know. So as you're elevating, they might pull you down. And it may not even be out of malice. They're just comfortable seeing and knowing who you are. Even thinking about when they murmured amongst the people about how great and tall the people were and how the Most High God sent us up to slaughter, and them speaking in fear, they're only speaking what they know. And sometimes that's not just, that a lot of the times that may be our friends and our family. And it's not even because they hate us or they don't want to see us grow. They're speaking fears into our plans and actions that they think would happen to them in that situation. But you can't let that overtake you in a certain situation, because what the Most High God put in you, he didn't put in them. So that very thing that they think would happen in that situation, that's what was meant for them. But the Most High God puts something else in you to allow you to overcome that situation. And then it says, Tosif.
Verse 20. That also was account of the land of Rephaim. Rephaim dwelt therein aforetime. But the Ammonites called them Zamzumim, a people great and many and tall as the Anakim. But Yehudah destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead. Mm-hmm. As he did for the children of Esau that dwelt in Seir, and when he destroyed the Horites from before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead, even unto this day. And the Avim that dwelt in villages as far as Gaza, the Kaphtorim that came forth out of Kaphtor, destroyed them and dwelt in their stead. Rise ye up, take your journey, and pass over the valley of Arnon. Behold, I have given into thy hand Sihon the Amorite king of Heshbon and his land. Begin to possess it and contend with him in battle. This day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the peoples that are under the whole heaven, who when they hear the report of thee shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee.
The might of our God. I will begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the peoples that are under the whole heaven. Even till this day, people fear us. You think about the amount of unarmed black people that have been riddled with bullets by all of these police officers, racist people. I just call them that, because you have certain other situations where these people aren't even in law enforcement, and they still shooting our people and get away with it. But that fear and that dread is over people. They fear us. They must think we zombies. How do you empty a clip and reload? You think that person's really going to get back up? But that's the fear that the Creator put over these people, over us. But in this situation, the fear that they had in this time was so that we could overtake them and take possession of the land that the Most High God had promised us. That same power was within us. And any and all things that we want, because I know I'm young, being 28, but I still think a lot about mortality, because when you listen to elders, they'll tell you they remember when they were young just like it was yesterday. And that shows you just how fast time is flying. And I know even now, time for a lot of us seems like it's flying by faster and faster. Like I read an article the other day how they were saying the Earth is rotating about 1.59 milliseconds faster than it used to. I didn't read the rest of it to know how much effects that actually has, but apparently, according to them, time is technically moving faster. So a lot of the things that we want to take possession of in our life, we have to do that now. Now is the time. Tosif?
And I sent messages out of the wilderness of Kedemot unto Sihon king of Heshbon with words of peace, saying, let me pass through thy land. Mm-hmm. I will go along by the highway. I will neither turn unto the right hand nor to the left. Thou shalt sell me food for money that I may eat, and give me water for money that I may drink. Only let me pass through on my feet, as the children of Esau that dwelt in Seir, and the Moabites that dwelt in Ar did unto me, until I shall pass over the Jordan into the land which Yehudah our God giveth us. But Sihon king of Heshbon would not let us pass by him. For Yehudah thy God hardened his heart and made his heart obstinate, that he might deliver him into thy hand, as appeareth this day.
Just like he did Pharaoh. Mm-hmm. Now, when the Most High God when the Most High God hardened Pharaoh's heart, do you think Pharaoh considered the fact that his heart was being hardened in that situation? When the Most High hardened Sihon's heart, do you think that he considered that his heart was being hardened in this situation? Not at all. In our lives, when we're being stubborn to certain situations, are we considering the fact that the Most High God might be hardening our heart to bring us closer to our punishment? Because that's what's happening here. The Most High God hardened his heart so that he could show his mighty hand. And in certain situations, we have to be mindful of, am I being too stubborn? You know, certain things we know we're supposed to stand on, but it's like if someone's bringing, you know, like I said to you earlier, if someone's bringing wisdom, correction, counsel, and instruction to you, and if the thing is good, and you decide, I think I'm going to do things my way, and now it don't work out, now you have to consider, wow, my heart was hardened in that moment. I should have listened. I should have taken heed to the instruction. So sometimes we have to see the Pharaoh in ourselves. Sometimes we have to see the Sihon in ourselves. I know we like to look at all of the goodness and the good qualities of certain of the people in this book, but sometimes see the bad, because as humans we have all of that. All of the emotions, all of the things that they're displaying in this book, we have all of those things, and a part of emotional maturity is reflecting on that and knowing the things that you need to work on. Tosif?
And Yehudah said unto me, behold, I have begun to deliver up Sihon and his land before thee begin to possess his land. Then Sihon came out against us, he and all his people into the battle at Yahaz. And Yehudah our God delivered him up before us, and we smote him and his sons and all his people. And we took all his cities at that time and utterly destroyed every city, the men and the women and the little ones. We left none remaining. Only the cattle we took for a prey unto ourselves, with the spoil of the cities which we had taken. From Ado-Ir, which is on the edge of the valley of Arnon, and from the city that is in the valley, even unto Gilead, there was not a city too high for us. Yehovah our God delivered up all before us.
This made me think of the song, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep Yah from you. Everything that the Most High God brought us to, we overtook it.
That's right.
And that's just how it is in any situation in all of our lives. It don't matter if it's a test. You may feel like you're not the studious type of person, but if you sit in front of that book and pray to the Creator, He'll bless you with the knowledge so that when you sit in front of the test, the answers will be clear to you.
That's right.
You may feel like, oh, you're not a good driver and you failed the test a couple times. Keep the Most High in mind when you're practicing again. Keep the Most High in mind while you're taking that test. He'll see you through that situation. These are very different times. Many of us, we ain't never been to war. We may not ever be to war. So understanding it from their perspective, we won't. But you have to look at it and the little battles that you face in your own life. There's nothing too high that the Most High God can't get you over. Tosif?
Only to the land of the children of Ammon thou camest not near, all the side of the river Yabok, and the cities of the hill country, and wheresoever Yehovah our God forbade us. Chapter 3. Then we turned and went up to the way to Bashan. And Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, unto the battle at Edrei. And Yehovah said unto me, fear him not, for I have delivered him and all his people and his land into thy hand. And thou shalt do unto him as thou didst unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, and who dwelt at Heshbon. So Yehovah our God delivered into our hand Og, also the king of Bashan, and all his people. And we smote him until none was left to him remaining.
The Most High keeps setting them up, and Israel keeps knocking them down. No matter what's in front of us, the battle's to the Most High. Tosif?
And we took all his cities at that time. There was not a city which we took not from them. 80 cities, all the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these were fortified cities with high walls, gates, and bars. Beside the unwalled towns, a great many. And we utterly destroyed them as we did unto Sihon, king of Heshbon, utterly destroying every city, the men and the women and the little ones. But all the cattle and all the spoil of the cities we took for a prey unto ourselves. And we took the land at that time out of the hand of the 2 kings of the Amorites that were beyond the Jordan, from the valley of Arnon unto Mount Hermon, which Hermon the Sidonians call Sidon, and the Amorites call it Sinir. All the cities of the plain, and all Gilead, and all Bashan, and Salcon, and Edrei, cities of the kingdoms of Og and Bashan. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of the Rephaim. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. Is it not in Rabbah of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after the cubit of a man.
It is said that Og was the last of the Rephaim. Again, talking about those giants. Now, I'm not going to get into a whole spiel about the giants and how tall they were. I don't know who they were. Some people believe that there may be some descendants of them now. I clearly don't, because it says that we made an end of them. So, and even then, thinking about it, like I said earlier, we see a dispossessing of the lands of these giants, whether by the hand of Esau, Moab, Ammon, and now us. Tosif?
And this land we took in possession at that time, from Ado-Ir, which is by the valley of Arnon, and half the hill country of Gilead. And the cities thereof gave I unto the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and the rest of Gilead, and all Bashan. The kingdom of old gave I unto the half tribe of Manasseh. All the region of Argob, all that Bashan is called the land of Rephaim. Yair, the son of Manasseh, took all the region of Argob, unto the border of the Geshurites and the Maacathites, and called them even Bashan after his own name, Havot Yair, unto this day. And I gave Gilead unto Machir, and unto the Reubenites and unto the Gadites I gave from Gilead even unto the valley of Arnon, the middle of the valley for a border, even unto the river Yabok, which is the border of the children of Ammon. The Arabah also, the Jordan being the border thereof, from Kinneret even into the sea of the Arabah, the salt sea under the slopes of Pisgah eastward. And I commanded you at that time, saying, Yehovah your God hath given you this land to possess it. Ye shall possess, ye shall pass over armed before your brethren, the children of Israel, all the men of valor.
So just because you got your blessing doesn't mean you're not supposed to help somebody else get theirs. So they decided that they weren't going to cross over, but the Most High God said, you still have to go and fight with your brothers in our own lives. No matter how much success we may obtain, help the next person get there as well. Bring that person up on the ladder, because the more of us that's doing well, the closer we may get to actually being that nation. Because we have to start off building an actual community, which has been in the work for some decades now, but I guess we're getting close to any time now. But, reaching, because that's what happens to a lot of successful black people, especially in America. There's this I, me mentality. And once they've reached those millions, you don't see a lot of that divested back into the community. You don't really see them, I'm not saying they should come around that much, because you have a lot of envious people that's may try to do you harm due to you being successful. However, this doesn't mean you shouldn't use some of that money to open community centers, to do certain things that your people need to bring them to that level. So, and you getting your blessing, that blessing is supposed to have you to bless someone else. Tosif?
But your wives and your little ones and your cattle, I know that ye have much cattle, shall abide in your cities which I have given you, until Yehovah give rest unto your brethren, as unto you, and they also possess the land which Yehovah your God giveth them beyond the Jordan. Then shall ye return every man unto his possession, which I have given you. And I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, Thine eyes have seen all that Yehovah your God hath done unto these two kings. So shall Yehovah do unto all the kingdoms whither thou goest over. Ye shall not fear them, for Yehovah your God, he it is that fighteth for you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
All before 2 o'clock. But, that last verse sums it all up. Ye shall not fear them, for Yehovah your God, he it is that fighteth for you. And that was the main emphasis that I was trying to make this whole time, and hopefully that message was conveyed. Is that it don't look at the situation, don't look at your capabilities, because the Most High is limitless. Don't worry about if you can handle it or not, because he can. And knowing and understanding that, there's a lot of things that we shouldn't be fearful of. Like, even me right now, I'm doing my best to hold it all together. My feet is numb, but I know that that's the Most High preparing me for something else, having me to speak before you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do this. Torah Chief Ooze for allowing me to have this moment here, and Torah to the Most High God first and foremost for even giving me the courage and the words and the wisdom to speak before his people, because I could have read all week and not been inspired anything to say. And the last thing I would want to do is to come before the Creator's people and not have them walk away with something. So I'm thankful for that. But even, in our personal lives, the same way that a lot of our leaders and teachers orate in front of us and allow us to elevate in our understanding and our spirituality, we're supposed to be that in our individual lives. If people around you aren't elevating in some level, because everyone's not going to obtain to this level of spirituality, because you have many people that know what you do, and you have some that even know this book, probably better than you and will never grab it. But if the people in your circle aren't elevating based off of your, connection to the Creator, then that's some reevaluating that you may need to do. And, just hopefully, do better. So with that, I hope and pray that you all got something out of what I said this day. And we could all eat in good time. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right.